There's just not really a good way to set the exposure here. Need to get a curtain, I think. That'll have to work. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another new video. I'm a little bit sick right now, but a drop in quality has never stopped me from making a video before, so it shouldn't now. Unfortunately, I am sick, so no whiskey today. Just normally wouldn't be a big deal for me, but you know, I'm just joking. Of course I'm gonna drink whiskey. I've got something lighter, a nice Highland Park 12, which is not actually a Highland whiskey. I think it's an Islay Scotch, despite its name, but it is very good. Not necessarily my favorite, but very good nonetheless. There we go. Safety first, though. I've also got cough syrup. Not bad. It's a little sweeter than I would normally like. I think I prefer the whiskey. Yeah. Oh, also, it's not COVID. I took a COVID test. I'm all in the clear. Actually, I don't even know if you're allowed to say COVID on YouTube yet. Anyways, what is today's video about? Pretty recently. It'll either be most likely the last video that I uploaded or the next to last video I uploaded. The mic is falling for some reason. I made a video about Pywall, and in that video, a very lovely person left a comment saying they prefer something called WPGTK over Pywall. So let's take a look at it. I actually have already taken a little bit of a look at it, and it's pretty cool. I think if you're gonna go down the Pywall route, this is the way to go. What this is basically an app that uses Pywall as part of it. Pywall is a dependency, and it uses Pywall to generate the color schemes that it's using, but it also enables a lot of cool extra features. The main thrust of this app is actually GTK applications. So that's right up my alley. That's the thing I was complaining about in the last video, is that Pywall, while it did work, didn't work very well with GTK apps. So let's take a look at this. So the first thing you need to do is actually install it. If you are on good old Arch Linux, that is, of course, very easy. It is in the AUR. If you search for WPGTK, here it is right here, WPGTK git. So you just need to do yay-s and then install WPGTK-git. Shouldn't take too long. And then from there, the app is actually pretty similar, and it works very much like Pywall does. So if we run the app, it's called WGP or WPG --help. We can take a look at how it works. Basically what we want to do is we're going to use the -s flag to set a wallpaper. I think it uses fade to set the wallpaper, and then generate a color scheme and apply that color scheme to our terminal. Again, I'm using Alacrity, but again, it should work in Kitty, ST, whatever. You might have to check your terminal support, or maybe even use a different terminal if you're not using one that supports this type of thing out of the box. But what we can do now is run WPG-S and then pick a wallpaper. So I'm going to go into my media folder, wallpapers directory, and you can pick a specific image, or you can just give it a directory with a whole bunch of images in it, and much like Pywall, it will just randomly pick an image from that directory. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and if we take a look now, as we run this command, we are now setting a wallpaper, and it's changing the color scheme based on the wallpaper. Now, much like Pywall, we can very easily get Dmenu to work with this, we can get Polybar to work with this, we can get Vim to work with this, Emacs, Rofi, whatever you're using. It shouldn't be too difficult, in large part because since we're using Pywall as a dependency, if we go into the cache and search for wall, we're actually still getting all of the same color schemes being generated from Pywall. So if there's something that you don't like the way that it works in WPG, or there isn't a template in WPG, you can make your own template using WPGTK, or you can just use the Pywall version of this. So a good example of that is Polybar. So there is a way to pull down the WPG themes, but the way that WPG works is it actually wants to, every time you change the colors, basically build a new config and replace your Polybar config, which isn't too big of a deal, but you end up having to go into this other location where WPG stores its config. It's kind of weird. It's super weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use WPG to set the wallpapers. It's then going to use Pywall to set the color scheme, and I'm going to use the Pywall template for Polybar to then set my color scheme in Polybar. So if I go into my config for Polybar, so I come to the Pywall GitHub page, go over to the wiki, go down to customization, and I'm just going to search for Polybar. all we've got to do is copy in these color values that are going to pull from the cache file that Pywall is creating. So I'm gonna comment out my original colors, paste in these new ones, go ahead and save the changes. You can see the polybar update, and now whenever we run a new wallpaper, it's gonna update live. Same thing with Vim. There is an additional Vim plugin that you can use to get a color scheme using WPGTK. So I'm going to go into my config for, I'm actually using NeoVim, but it'll also work in normal Vim. I'm just going to copy that. And then I'm going to run plug install. And then if we come down to our color scheme settings, we're just going to change our theme from Grovebox to, what is the new scheme called? It is called WPGTK. Okay, WPGTK. All right. And then if we go back into Vim, it's not going to work. This might not be what you were expecting, because it also isn't what I was expecting. But let's see if we can fix it real quick. It looks like maybe what's happening is that set term GUI colors might be getting in our way again. So let me get rid of that. I'm going to comment that out, save, go back in, and now our color scheme is changing. If we run the same command again, WPG-S, and then pick a folder, the Vim color scheme is going to change, and the polybar color scheme is going to change. And that's pretty easy. So now we're sort of back to where we started with the last video, and I think we're free to get a little more into it. And to do that, we're going to jump straight into theming GTK applications. So in order to do that, the main thing you're going to need is basically, there's a couple of things you're going to need. The first is called LX Appearance. So I believe it's in the standard Arch Linux repository. Let me search real quick. Yeah, so you're going to do sudo pacman -s and install LX Appearance. Okay, and then if you go into the AUR and you search for WPGTK, the other thing you're going to need is this right here, GTK theme flat color get. This is the GTK theme that WPGTK uses to set the color scheme every time it changes the wallpaper. So you're going to do yay-s and install GTK theme flat color get. It's kind of a mouthful, but once you have that, what you can then do is you're going to go into LX Appearance, and I think I had mine set to Grovebox or something. There's going to be a new theme here. You're just going to set it to flat color, and it may or may not work immediately. What you might have to do is use a little setup script, and if you go over to WPGTK, the main GitHub channel, what you can do is come down, click on WPGTK under Files here, then go over to Miscellaneous, and there's a WPG install script right here. So you could download this script and run it. What I'm going to do is just duplicate it real quick. So I'll copy the actual text of the script, come to my home directory, I'm going to make a new file, I'm going to call it wpg.shell, go in there, copy in that text, and then you can run chmod +x on that script. And now if we do // to run the script, wpga.sh, and give it the -h option, it'll tell us everything that it'll do. Now it's sort of split up in a weird way where you have to run a different flag to install the theme for every type of theme that you want to use. So for example, you have to do -p to install a polybar template. I already talked about why I don't want to use that. And that's why I think that's probably why it's split up like this, is you may want to theme your GTK apps with WPG, but you may not want to theme Polybar or i3 or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this script again, and I'm going to give it the -g option. And it's basically just going to do a git clone on some different stuff. It will install the flat color GTK themes. And so let's run WPG again to set the wallpaper. So we set the wallpaper. Let's find something with a lot of color again, so it'll be pretty obvious. And then if I open up any GTK app, so let's try maybe Thunar, you can see it's adopted this color scheme. And that's pretty cool, but pretty immediately we're going to get back to the same problem we had before, which is that whenever we load a new color scheme, the GTK apps aren't going to update. So everything that's using this same color scheme, Firefox, you can see it's still using this green theme from before. Thunar that we just opened up is still using the color scheme from the past wallpaper. If we were to open up again, it would change, but I want to do that live. So I've got a way to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to another page that I have linked in the description. And a guy named, what's this guy's name here? I want to give him credit here. Jasper Albering figured out a way to use the GNOME settings thing, and then after that, that's not what you actually want to use, a way to use this program called XSettingSD to basically refresh the wallpaper as we set it. So the first thing we need to do is actually just install XSettingSD. So we can use pacman for that. Sudo pacman-s and install XSettingSD. I already installed it, so we'll just leave it as is right now. And then what you need to do is a couple of things. We need to create a config for this file. And the way you can do that is we're going to cd into our config folder, and then in here you should have a folder called xsettingsd. If you don't, just make it. So make dir xsettingsd. Then we can go into that folder, and inside of there you want to create a file called xsettingsd.config touch xsettingsd.config. Then I'm just going to come in here, and this is what you need to make your config look like. You want to do net/theme name and give it the name of the theme that you are refreshing. That of course is the flat color theme that we just set using LX Appearance, and that way it'll know. I don't actually know why you need to give it the name of the color scheme, but you do. Once it started working, I got really excited and I hit record, and I didn't look into why it was working so much. I just started recording. So once you do that, I'm going to open up Thunar here. Or any GTK app really is going to work. And I'm going to keep it over here so we can see it refreshing live and make sure it's working right. If we use WPG and set a wallpaper normally, our GTK app is not going to update. But if we do this, if we set the theme and then right after that, add another command, timeout 5-second, and then run xsettingsd-c, and then give it the link to the config file that we created, and then we run it, our color scheme is actually going to update. And live. If we go over to Firefox, for example, you can see it's updating too. The only issue that I ran into is that if we run this enough, it's actually not going to update. It's going to fall behind, or it's going to miss a few times, and my best guess is just because this is happening too fast for the system to keep up with. So you can see it fell behind here on our GTK theme. Firefox also fell behind, it didn't update. So what I'm going to do is right here in between where we're running WPG-S and the xsettingsd, I'm going to come in here and we're going to add wait 1, and what that should do is give us enough time that it's going to have time to set the wallpaper and then do everything it needs to do there, and then go back and set the GTK theme and refresh the GTK theme as well. So you can see that happening here. All right. And it looks like it's working pretty reliably to me. Cool, cool, cool. One thing I will point out is there is a little bit of an issue. I'm going to open up PCMan-FM, for example, and you can see it's using a different color scheme than Thunar and Firefox are using, and that's weird. And I don't actually know why this is a thing. I spent a good amount of time trying to figure out what the problem was, and I actually was convinced that it wasn't working properly at first because I was using PCMan-FM to test, and nothing was happening. For whatever reason, this app just isn't updating with the color scheme, and this is actually the only one I found that works like this. And it doesn't matter if I close it and then reopen it, it's not gonna refresh live. You know, if I close and reopen it, it will pull down the new theme. It won't happen live, and I'm not quite sure why that's an issue. But it is, so that's something to keep in mind. Maybe not every GTK app you run into is going to work, but so far all the ones that I've tried have worked fine. Firefox works, Thunar works, LX Appearance works, the actual WPG app of course works. I would be shocked if it didn't. Everything that I've used that uses this GTK theme works perfectly fine. We can try out something like Nitrogen, Wallpaper Setter. It seems to be working fine as well, but for whatever reason, PCMan-FM not working. So that's cool, but now let's try to make this a little bit more permanent. So I'm going to go into my Zeesh config. So that's config zeeshrc, and I want to come down to where I have aliases set up. And I'm just going to create a new alias to run all of this nonsense for us so that I don't have to do it myself. I'm just going to create a new alias. I'm going to make the alias just the letter W and paste all that in. And then if we reload Zeesh, run W, it's going to change our wallpaper. And if we open up a GTK app again, it's also going to change all of that. Unfortunately, these two apps don't actually have a quiet mode, so there is going to be this much terminal output every single time you do it. There is a quiet mode in Piwall. I don't know why there isn't in WPGTK or this X setting app. In theory, you could go into your Zeesh config and let's see, X setting SD, and right here at the end, you could just also have it run clear at the end of the alias there. And what that would do is just every time you hit W, it'll do everything and then clear your terminal window. I don't know if that's actually ideal either, but it is a little bit messier than I would like for it to be, but that's not the worst way to handle the problem. There are a couple of other things we can do. So for example, I use Dmenu a lot to launch applications, so we can probably set a theme for that as well. I think I'm just going to use standard Piwall to set this theme. So if I come over to the, let's see, the wiki, and then in the customization, and search for Dmenu. I didn't actually look at doing this on Dmenu before because Dmenu is a suckless app, and those apps like ST and Qt browser, or I think their browser is called something different. I forget what the name of the browser is, but those apps don't really have like a standard config file. They work with patches and stuff, so I thought it would be a big hassle to get Dmenu to use the same color scheme, but it actually isn't that hard at all. All we need to do is make a little script, this bad boy right here, basically to import the wall colors. So let's go and make a new script. Again, doesn't matter where you store the script. I keep all my scripts in the same place. What we need to do is make a new script. So we'll create a new script, call it Dmenu or something like that. Let's go into the script, paste in all of this, and then up here at the top, we just need to add, let's see here, how does it work? It's hashtag !bin/bash. Go ahead and save the changes, chmod +X on that script we just made, and then if we go into the script, we need to remove that. And all this is going to do is import the wall colors, and then it's going to tell Dmenu. Oh, and then we also don't need the alias thing in here, we just need the actual command. So we can remove the alias bit, and then all this is going to do is it's going to import the colors from wall, and then it's going to run the standard Dmenu run command, which is how you start Dmenu, and then tell it to use color 0, 15, color 1, 15, that is importing right here for the Dmenu colors. So if I go ahead and save and exit that, the only other thing I need to do is in my config for the awesome window manager, which is how I launch Dmenu, I actually have it set to just run the standard Dmenu run command. I just need to replace that with the script we just made. So I'm going to go over to home, Mac, /.scripts, and then /Dmenu, save that, reload that, and then if I go ahead and do my shortcut, Dmenu has a new color scheme. Unfortunately, there's not a great way for me to keep this app open and run it at the same time, so it doesn't really even matter if it's updating live, because every time we can launch Dmenu, it will have a new color scheme. So this is cool. The only other issue I could think of that you might have is whenever you're launching a new terminal or something, it's not going to have the color scheme until you run that set wallpaper command again. I didn't mention this in the last video, but there is a way to fix that. All you need to do is add this line right here, cat out cache.wall sequences, and to your config for Zeesh or bash or whatever. So I'm going to go into my Zeesh config, and I'm going to add this right to the top. All that's going to do is basically look at the last color sequence that was created using Piwall. Go ahead and save that, and when I launch a new terminal, it's going to pull the new color scheme. And if I set a new theme for my terminal, of course it's going to update. And so now we've got just about everything I could want set using this color scheme generator. Polybar is working, Vim is over here working, my terminals are working. If I run Dmenu, it's working. If I open up any GTK apps, they're automatically working. So this is cool. This is about as much as I could ask for, and I think that's probably going to be the end of my image-based color schemes stint on YouTube. Honestly, I still don't know that this is really my thing, but it is undeniably cool, and it's kind of hard to stop thinking about it, even though you're decidedly not all that into it. It's very difficult to not respect the effort put in here by the developers and how cool of a tool this actually is. So that's about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you need a VPN, check out PureVPN. I've got an affiliate deal with them, and I checked it out. It seems to be a good service, as secure as any can be, and relatively fast. I don't use a VPN all that much, so I can't speak too much to the speed of it, but when I do use a VPN, I use PureVPN, and if you sign up for it as well, I do get a little bit of a kickback, so thanks in advance. But that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody.